the inspiration for tonight was this Reddit. I don't know if you saw this going about. It's a Sajam video. Usual like really good Sajam, just open discussion on his thing. This is a pastiche or an homage to that, of course. I am British Sajam. Welcome. I wouldn't know where to start. I need to have an open wardrobe behind us with nicely sorted shirts in it. But yeah, he did a video about what's difficult about learning fighting games. Rather than debunking what people say is hard about fighting games, he actually goes, these are the things that are hard, and he talks about some of them instead, which is quite interesting. As Bidushok has mentioned there, the Reddit is rather atrocious. It does veer off a little bit into debunking some of the myths again. But he does kind of say that it's more about the mind games, isn't it? Execution's a solvable problem. The solution to execution is practice. But there's other things that's not going to happen. You need what I call them a grown-up job, actually. We call them boundary objects and things like that. You need these things that you can create that help you solve a problem and move you on to the next thing. And knowing what they are and knowing how to make them, knowing how to identify what the next steps are in a fighting game is extremely hard. And he kind of goes into that, and that's really, really interesting, really valuable stuff. Of course, the Reddit, being Reddit, same as Twitter, I am biased, ignores all of that and goes straight into people who didn't see the video. Sorry for hovering over this might not be one of them, but people went straight in the replies with either disagreeing with them based on the title and clearly not watching the video, or just as these are the things that are hard, and then just dropping their own opinions on what they think is hard. I thought it'd be interesting to read through some of these and talk about it. I think what resonates with these people is going to be interesting, especially the earlier ones. This is a highly voted one that's a week old, so that's when this Reddit went up. So basically what happened was Sajam's video made it to the front page of Reddit/games, and then obviously you've got non-fighting game people, or at least your filthy casuals turn up, and they have a different set of problems to what we used to talking about. So the video's not going to stick with them in the same way, right? So you got one here. We'll start with, I don't even know if it's good or not, but from Mr. Oliver. Learning fighting games these days got really hooked on the Guilty Gear Strive beta. I've been playing XRD to fill the void. Veteran fighting game players are so out of touch with what it is like to first get into them. So one thing I've not mentioned in this model that's extremely important, one of the most important things in all fairness, is that if you are doing peering, if you're going to teach somebody else, the people that are one level above or below you are the best at teaching you. And again, this is stuff that people find out the hard way, but it's all really well documented in teaching techniques and things like that. But an advanced beginner can teach a novice, and they can ask questions to a competent person that makes the competent person better. So a person one level above or below, very, very useful, because they still remember those boundary objects that we were talking about, those breakthrough moments. Whereas an expert can't do that. If an expert watches a bronze replay of a novice player and they say jump less, block more, and that's all they can really say about that video, that's because they're not remembering what it feels like to struggle to throw out a fireball consistently and to have to be brave to throw out a DP instead of a crouch heavy punch and things like that, right? So you'll get some experts that have been around long enough and have taught other people long enough that they can do that stuff, absolutely. But yeah, the best chances you've got is to have someone that's one level above or below to help get that stuff across to people. People say you're good at explaining. No, I'm just good at knowing my audience and tailoring the response. Exactly, that's the thing, isn't it? Is you've got to kind of hit those people at the right level. If you start going, right, you need to learn combos, which is what a lot of people on forums and Reddits and things do, you're immediately hitting novices with stuff that's probably not going to be very good for them. They're not going to know how to get into a scenario where they get to land the combo. Again, it's the Ken players holding up forward and trying to land that jump medium kick to start their bread and butter. And if they just get smacked out the air over and over and over again, you go, well, how do I set up the scenario to let me jump in consistently? And then they're stuck there. But yeah, the important thing is here that you want to interact with people at one level above, one level below, when possible. When Street Fighter 5 first started kind of growing, there was a really good Golden Below Discord. I forgot the name of it now. But that made it to the front of like Kotaku and stuff like that, if I remember rightly, because people were just like, oh, wake up supers allowed, like that's cool. Because if you asked on Reddit, they would say don't do wake up supers, that's really scrubby. Whereas the people playing in gold were like, no, you'll get easy points doing that in bronze and silver, just do it. And now we've all evolved to the point that we all do it anyway, especially when it's hype. So yeah, that's the thing. So if we go back to that thing, a veteran fighting game player has been out of touch with what it's like to first get into them. That's definitely a thing. I struggle myself to remember what I struggled with. You know, it's hard to have that perspective. It's been an interesting talking point recently, and I'm a bit of a hypocrite in that sense, because when we look at tutorials, we go, oh, that's really cool that teaches you how to fuzzy. That's easy for someone like me to read the text and go, oh, that's a fuzzy, that's really cool, it's teaching me that. If this is your first fighting game that you're taking seriously, you're not going to know what that means. You're not going to identify that in the tutorial. You're going to go, right, it wants me to dash up and then press this and then do that. And you're not going to know why, but you know that it's going to say clear if you do it. So, you know, how do you get that bit of it across? That's quite difficult. When your content for actual beginners will make your content either extremely long or your channel extremely dense. So, content segmentation, market segmentation, all of that stuff, very, very important. Even then, if you do it really well, they're still not going to see it if they don't know what to look for, unfortunately. And again, if you look at Reddit/Street Fighter, that's a great example where they have thrown every resource under the sun at this thing. They really have. Where do you find it though? Right, so all of Geef's Gym is in here for free. You don't have to buy it. It is a book you can go out and buy, but it's in here for free. 2-minute tutorials, Geef's Gym, hitbox viewer, all this stuff in here. The Geef's Gym bit is super sick because this is an actual step-by-step guide to learning, all broken down into chapters, into sections, with exercises and YouTube videos that you can then click on and actually set up dummies to do. Amazing stuff. Well managed, well organized. But you're not going to click on that. You're going to click start a new post. How do I autocorrect BP? Every single time. I think sometimes it is that someone mentioned it a bit earlier. There's people who go, I can't be bad at this, I'm good at Skyrim. And if you've played if you're the kind of person who buys a video game every week, or even once a month, if you're the kind of person that buys the new game, plays the new game, you're probably very used to feeling very good at video games. And this is a harsh reality to having to deal with the fact that maybe you're not. But no, there are those people. And then again, yeah, the only way you can really enjoy the fighting games past the eight enemies and the boss of arcade mode is to get beat up, isn't it? A lot of these replies, since this is front page of r/games, I highly imagine that these are those people that are excited about what's the new one that everyone's playing at the moment, Outriders is it called or something, I don't even know. And they'll get bored in a week, and then they'll pick up whatever the new game is next week, and then they'll see Evo, and then they'll play Street Fighter, and they need to feel good in a week because that's what they used to. That's their cycle time, and it's not going to happen. So we're still there. The common themes here are people going, I just can't do that. And we all know that if they sat in practice mode for an hour, 2 hours, with some decent drills, they'd be fine. They'd be absolutely fine. But it is, how do you get the motivation to do that in the first place if the reward is to get beat up? Nice and circular, this, just as we're reaching the end of the stream time. But it does feel like actually listening to these people that are struggling, listening to their excuses, which some of them are, and their problems, and I think trying to figure out a better way to get past that boundary, get across that thing that they're struggling with in a different way than telling them they're wrong is quite important. Definitely something we're not very good at as a community.